Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about Hungarian true crime stories, and my name is Tímea, and I feel like today's video is gonna be significantly shorter than my other videos, and that's because there is pretty much no information on this case whatsoever. I have come across only 2 articles that even mention it, so altogether I have about 2 pages of information. And it is so unknown, despite the brutality of this case, that on a Facebook post where I came across this for the first time, people who live in the area even argue if it happened. Some people vividly remember saying that their friends and family who were police officers worked at the scene. Other people who live in the neighborhood say they never heard of this, and if it really happened, then they would have heard because it is so extraordinarily, outrageously brutal. So I'm gonna tell you what we know, and you make up your mind whether or not you believe this story. But be prepared that it's gonna be very, very fucking brutal. It is one of those bloody butchery type cases that just seems to be the niche of my channel. Interestingly, I hate horror movies. I could never watch this, but when I have to talk about this, that's fine. I don't know. Am I the only one who's like this? Today's story takes place in 1992 in the city of Szolnok. And in Szolnok, there is a housing estate slash neighborhood called the Széchenyi lakótelep. And that is where this brutal crime happened. And on this housing estate, there are many blocks of flats. In Hungarian, these are called panel buildings because they are literally built up of panel flats. Like, it's like built on top of each other like Legos. That was a very communist type of architecture. If you are from anywhere in Eastern Europe, you know this very well. And each of these apartments is very small. There is one room, the living room, which usually also functions as one bedroom, and sometimes there is an extra bedroom, which is super small, a kitchen, and a bathroom. That is it, it's incredibly small. And in one of these houses lived a small family. A 70-year-old man called Mihály József Sr., his son, a 32-year-old man called Mihály József Jr. So they have the same name, so I'm going to refer to them throughout the story as the father and the son to make it as simple for you as possible. And with them lived the youngish girlfriend of the father. By youngish, I mean that she was significantly younger than this 70-year-old man, but like she wasn't young, she wasn't at 20 or something. She could have been in her 40s. And the most notable thing about these 3 people is that they were very, very alcoholic. They were on such a deep, extreme end of alcoholism that they drank literally every minute of every day. And if they started sobering up, they immediately started acting out really weird as the result of the withdrawal symptoms. So they literally could not stay without drinking. They were drinking on the streets, in the pub. They went to the shop to buy a crap load of drinks and then bring it home. Like, you could never see them without a beer or something even stronger in their hands. Unfortunately, alcohol addiction never pairs well with mental illness, and the son started showing masochistic tendencies. He did all kinds of weird things. His neighbors and people on the street would claim that they had witnessed him put out cigarettes on his own skin in front of people as a way to like outrage them and to cause himself pain, like he just loved to suffer. He had cut himself on several occasions on several parts of his body with razor blades. He would bite into the beer cans until the beer can would tear up his mouth from the inside, and he just did all kinds of things like that. He actually had attempted suicide a couple of times before this case, but he never received any treatment, as much as I know, for his mental illness. These kinds of masochistic tendencies were the worst when he was starting to sober up. So he could literally only act normal, according to his own standard, when he was blackout drunk. Any other time when he was even partially sober, he just did all kinds of crazy things. It happened in the September of 1992 that this trio went to the local grocery shop to return the beer bottles in exchange for some coins. And they entered the grocery shop in order to buy some more beers. Unfortunately, they did not have enough cash to buy enough beers for the three of them for the rest of the day. That was when they came across one of their neighbors and borrowed some coins from this person in order to be able to pay the price of the beers. And when they did that, they went home and they got drunk as usual. As you can imagine, they finished those beers pretty fast. And as they started sobering up, they became really bored, but they just did not have any more money to buy more beers. So they just started doing all kinds of weird things as they usually did. And the father started to undress, and he was standing in the living room fully naked. And that was when his son followed suit, and they were just both naked. Remember that I said that the father's girlfriend was a younger woman, and one of the sources said that they started arguing over who should have sex with this woman. And the father and son just started beating up each other because they were bored, they were sobering up, they had an argument, and they just did not know how to reconcile things other than aggression. Obviously, the 32-year-old son was way stronger and he was able to overpower his 70-year-old father. So he fetched a kitchen knife and struck it in the neck of the father, and then he started strangling him with a military belt. But then he took the knife again and punctured the father in the chest 6 times. I don't know if by this time the father was still alive or he had died or if he was unconscious. But what the son did next was really fucked up. He literally cut off his father's beer belly. Like, this man had such a big beer belly, so hard and so protruding, that the son was able to cut it off in one piece. And then he just took this beer belly and threw it on the floor beside his father's dead body. And you can imagine that the guts and the intestines and all the internal organs were just flowing out of this man's body. Oh my God! The whole ceiling, the whole floor, the walls, everything was drenched in his blood. But that doesn't stop there. The son cut off his own penis with the same knife and then stuffed it inside his father's mouth. And then he punctured himself in the chest several times, and then within a few minutes he bled out and died. And the girlfriend of the father witnessed this whole thing. So you can imagine that what she saw caused him severe trauma, and she literally went insane on the spot. She escaped the house and she was just roaming the streets nearby. That was where the police would later find her as well. Now, this whole ordeal took place between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. based on the neighbors' claims who heard the muffled noises of the fight and shouting. Now, we know that there were no cell phones back in 1992, and apparently a lot of people didn't even own a landline for some reason, because many neighbors said that the reason why they didn't call the police was because they were afraid to leave their apartments, exit the building, and go down to the payphone on the street. So apparently they didn't even have a landline. I don't know, but either way, nobody called the police. The crime scene was discovered the next morning when a man who had previously lent them money came to get back what was rightfully his. And when nobody opened the door after several attempts and knockings, he decided to call the police for a welfare check. So the police entered the apartment and the medical scientists were able to confirm the series of events on what went down, that the son killed the father and then killed himself. Unfortunately, this area of this estate housing was not particularly good. When I was trying to find more sources for this specific case, I came across 3 more brutal murders in the same street. So yeah, it's not a particularly good place to be, and the police and the authorities don't do anything to help this area progress a little bit and prevent such crimes ever happening again. Unfortunately, there is no more information on anything. I don't know what happened to the flat, who rented out it next, if somebody lives there still, what happened to the girlfriend, and since the murderer is also dead, there was no trial set. I'm sure other newspapers also reported on this case, but maybe I just couldn't find them or they haven't been digitalized, so that is pretty much it. That is all that I can tell you about this case. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you don't know what to say about this story, then just let me know something about yourself. I always love reading about you guys. And if you have made it this far into this video, you might as well like it, subscribe to my channel and share my content with somebody you think would like it. Stay tuned for my next video, which is gonna be fucked up as always, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!